You're listening to Two Babies in a Business, a podcast about business, marketing, growth strategy, staff, clients, babies, and marriage. I'm Christina. This is my partner, Peter. We're founders and leaders of CIPR Communications. We're still talking websites.
Today we're talking about Christina's favorite topic, website maintenance.
So sexy, buckle up.
Yeah, real grinder on this one. This one's an interesting one. So the topic today is, why do I need website maintenance? So maybe why don't we start off, Christina, by kind of talking about what is website maintenance and what's included.
Yeah, I mean, this is where the real unsexy stuff gets. I'm going to rattle off a list. And some of it you may or may not know about, but it basically is maintenance. So things like your website and database backup, your updates to the latest versions. So, WordPress is something we've talked about lots in this podcast. So updating to the latest version of WordPress, optimization of your database, any sort of plugin installations and scanning, making sure that there's no auto updates enabled, because if there's something that automatically updates and maybe breaks something on your site, that's not a good thing. So checking on those things. So I talked about plugin installation, but also any of the plugin updates to latest versions, any sort of security on forms and testing and checking those forms, scanning the site for any signs of hacking or malware, changing the password. This is one of those things where, how many of you have changed your password to your email or your bank account in the last 3 months? No, nobody? Well, you should. So we take care of a monthly password change just to ensure security, disabling anything that's unused plugins, also ensuring that your website stays online. So that includes kind of that emergency email and phone support throughout the month. I think a lot of the times when we talk to some clients about website maintenance after a website project is done, it's kind of like thinking about it as like the warranty when you're like at the Best Buy lineup and they're like, hey, do you want that warranty for your Fitbit? Mm-hmm. And, I think always our initial reactions are like, oh no, like you're trying to get another $100 off of me. But then, you've had this happen recently where then your Fitbit breaks and
buying a brand new Fitbit. Except for in the case of a Fitbit, it's like $150. And in the case of a website, it's thousands of dollars. So
yeah, we had a recent example of a client who decided not to do a website maintenance package. And these aren't expensive. Like I'm talking $300 a month for some of the more basic stuff that CIPR offers. So he had decided for his business that, he wasn't going to invest in it at this time, and that's totally fine. But his website went down, completely went down. Couldn't explain why it went down. And of course he called us. We were the people who developed his site, and we kind of poked around. Because no one was taking backups of his website, and because, there was no maintenance package and there was nothing going on, he had to revert his website back to the last copy that we had on file of his site. And there had been some significant changes since then. He had added some new pages, changed some content, put new photos in. Like this was a couple months of work that he had done, and that was lost. And actually, had it been maybe even a few years down the line, we may not have even had that backup on file anymore. It was kind of a more recent project. So we did have something kind of tucked away in the back of our files on a development server still from building it. So, it is definitely insurance, but it is also those tasks that need to be done every month. Like if you're not updating plugins, if you're not updating versions, you risk your site going down, you risk your site not operating properly, and you risk a really bad user experience. Mm-hmm. And so those things, making sure that you're either doing them or someone's dedicated to that, or you can set it and forget it. and you know what's happening. You get a little report from us. Here's everything that's done. And you're good to go.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, we always kind of use the analogy of your website is like a home or like your digital home or whatever. And, we talk about the analogy of building your home. And so, I mean, it really fits in the analogy of maintaining your home. At the end of the day, your home needs stuff breaks down, stuff gets worn out, stuff needs to be updated. I mean, it's just normal, right? And like, unlike the Fitbit, a website like a home has many different moving parts and components and electrical and mechanical and, water and there's just lots, right? There's lots there. So really, using that analogy, really it's just kind of ongoing maintenance of your house. And then the goal, and I mean, the nice thing about doing website maintenance is as opposed to getting to a place in 3 years or 5 years or whatever, where your website is basically completely dysfunctional and has been like completely not serving your business for a period of time. And now you're in a complete redesign project. Yeah. It's sort of like, think about, like if you kind of do ongoing continuous maintenance and we'll talk about, some of our maintenance packages also have, a certain number of hours per week for edits and making changes to your website. And so, if you think about it from that perspective, it's like, hey, your home is always got the latest and greatest. It's always fresh. You're always adding and changing pages. You're always, and so like your website, theoretically, if you're paying for maintenance, you should never really be, it's almost like amortizing the cost of a new website over time, right? You've built a website and now you're kind of making sure it's up to date, making sure it's fresh, making sure it's continually telling your story, making sure it's changing with your company. And so that theoretically you should be in a place where you probably won't need to do a new website project, certainly not as quickly, maybe never, because it's sort of an ongoing, continual progression, as opposed to, again, getting to it. I talk to clients or prospects sometimes where it's like their website's so outdated and the technology is so outdated that there's just nothing to save, right? I mean, there's just nothing. And so you're like completely rebuilding, right? So and technology changes, right? And that's the other piece to it is, and so this allows you to sort of keep the latest plugins and the latest technologies and sort of everything that's the best, so that your your investment is protected.
I even like thinking about maintenance as the little things of like, scroll down to the bottom of your website and what's the copyright date? Say right now.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't say 2021, and in a couple months, if it doesn't say 2022, you're showing your audience that's visiting your website that it's outdated. Sure. Right? So what is that date? And that's something in a maintenance package. Okay, January 1, I'm making sure the team is flipping that over to the new date. Google likes that. There's some trust and legitimacy that comes from that. But all those little things that, frankly, as a business owner or a marketing manager, I don't think you should be worrying about is something that's covered off in website maintenance. And I have that conversation a lot. So like once a website project's wrapped up, usually I'm having a conversation with a client, whether I'm involved in the project or not, to talk about next steps, to talk about how it went. And I get asked, well, why website maintenance? And it always comes back to that conversation to me of, what's your time worth? Mm-hmm. And okay, if you're valued at a X dollars per hour, is making sure the date on your website or the latest version of WordPress or the latest version of that plugin that, you haven't thought about in months is up to date. That's probably not the value that your superior or your business team or anyone needs you to play. You need to be focused on kind of those bigger strategic priorities and pictures.
Or think about if something happens and your website goes down and now you've got 6-7 people, in a crisis situation trying to like deal with, oh my God, our website's down. We need to, whatever. And then heaven forbid you don't have a backup, like Christina said, of the latest version of your website. Now you're sort of figuring out, you could spend hours and days wasting time and internal resources. I think people always or often undervalue internal resources and time better spent on other activities, right? And you think about $300 an hour. I mean, like that's a top level executive should be doing $300 an hour tasks for your company to add value. But a website crash and major situation like that it just derails everybody for a few days, right? Not a good use of time, not a good use of money.
Yeah. I think too, when it comes to website maintenance, especially if you're a small business owner, I think what's interesting to think about is who's making the edits on your website every month. So you mentioned this, it's something we provide different package levels, but kind of at that most basic $300 an hour, $300 a month, or so, you're getting an hour of our time to update photos or content or any of those little things that may come up. And I think, again, where's your time as a small business owner? And should it be going towards that? Probably not. And now within that package, you're getting an hour of our time to make sure things are up to date. We work proactively with a lot of clients in terms of, okay, seasonally, we know that these 3 things need to happen on the site. A photo needs to be swapped out, a new sale needs to be added, whatever it is, so that taking that off your plate, even in that kind of long-term perspective, is covered. And then you have this wiggle room for those little tweaks and last minute changes. And then we have obviously higher packages for more edits per month that come up, and I can happily say all of our clients always use them all. Right?
Yeah,
Like
sure.
they become valued. We set up monthly web maintenance meetings. In the case of kind of some of the larger sites, we do weekly meetings where we're talking about what edits are prioritized, what needs to happen. And again, for the client, it's here it is. I don't need to think about it. You guys have it under control. And we obviously do the QA, the quality assurance afterwards, and let you know what's up and it's good to go. And at the same time, you're having the reassurance that your website is safe and going to stay online.
Yeah, totally. So website maintenance, it's important. And we think every single company that owns a website, which is every single company, should also be doing website maintenance. And I'll just say that obviously our packages are mostly monthly. But I mean, if you're like a really small business and really small website, I mean, you could probably get away with a little bit less frequency, even just to save a little bit of money. But generally about a monthly maintenance program for your average business probably makes sense.
I think so. And again, it's the peace of mind for me, right? Like we're small business owners too, and it's like, to me, I don't want to have to be worried about that. And hey, even if this isn't in your budget in terms of hiring an agency to make sure things are staying online and up to date, make sure you have your little list of what you need to look at monthly to ensure that your website is top notch. So things like version updates, plugin updates, security updates, taking a backup of your site, testing all those forms, testing all the connections. So that's 5 things. Write those 5 things down. You should be doing them every month. Any agency that you're on a maintenance package with should be doing that every month for you. And you should be, knock on the wood on your behalf. She should be good. All right. That's web maintenance. You need it. It's not just another one of those crappy warranties that Best Buy tries to sell you at the end of your purchase. Actually necessary.
Absolutely.
Okay. Join us for, I think, just a couple more website episodes. But you know where to find us, CIPR Comms, on all those Instagram channels, all those social media channels, and Spreaker, Spotify, and iTunes to find the next episode.
See you later.